The message arrived on a Tuesday morning, Galactic Standard Time. Every communication station across the Valtheric Empire received it simultaneously. The transmission came from a small blue planet in Sector 47, a world the Empire's scouts had catalogued as primitive and barely worth the fuel costs of conquest. Yet somehow, this backwater civilization had broadcast in every known language of the galaxy at once. The message was simple: we know you are coming. Turn back while you still can. Fleet Commander Daesun read the transmission 3 times before laughing. He stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, surrounded by officers who had spent their entire careers watching civilizations crumble before the Empire's might. The idea that these humans could threaten them was absurd beyond measure. "Show me their military capabilities," Daesung ordered. His tactical officer brought up the scans. Earth possessed fragmented nations, each with its own small military force. Their weapons used primitive fusion reactions. Their ships barely reached their own moon with any reliability. They had no unified government, no single command structure, nothing that resembled a credible defense against an empire that controlled 3,000. Star Systems Science Officer Mingi stood at her station, reviewing the data with growing unease. Something about the transmission bothered her, though she couldn't identify exactly what. The signal strength was unusually powerful for a civilization at Earth's technological level. More troubling was the origin point. Her instruments showed the transmission didn't come from Earth's surface or even their orbital stations. It originated from somewhere in the asteroid belt between their 4th and 5th planets. She approached the commander's chair carefully. "Sir, I've detected an anomaly in the transmission source." Daesung waved his hand dismissively. "Every species tries psychological warfare when they detect our approach. They hope to buy time, to make us cautious. It never works." "But sir, the signal came from their asteroid belt, not from their homeworld." "That suggests nothing," Daesung interrupted. "Humans have had barely 200 years since they developed radio technology. The Empire has existed for 12,000 years. Whatever tricks they're playing, they're the desperate acts of a species that knows it cannot win." Minji returned to her station, but the unease wouldn't leave her. She ran deeper analysis on the transmission. The encoding was sophisticated, far more advanced than anything else she'd detected from human space. It was almost as if 2 different civilizations occupied the same system, one primitive and visible, one hidden and highly advanced. She kept her findings to herself. Daesung had no patience for theories that contradicted his worldview. The commander activated the fleet-wide communication system. 4,000 warships received his orders simultaneously. "All vessels, set course for Sector 47 Terra. Standard subjugation protocol. We arrive in 6 cycles. Any ship that fires before my command will be destroyed by my hand personally." The 9th Expeditionary Force had conquered 43 species in Daesung's tenure as commander. He knew the pattern well. First came the threats and warnings. Then came the desperate military resistance. Finally came the surrender, followed by integration into the Empire. Always the same pattern. Always the same result. On Earth. Director Han sat in a conference room, 300 meters below the surface of the Korean peninsula. Around him sat the leaders of the United Terran Defense Initiative, organization that officially didn't exist in any public record. They watched the Imperial fleet begin its journey toward their world. They ignored the message, Colonel Jiwoo said. She stood near the view screen, her expression carefully neutral. "Just as we predicted," Jan nodded slowly. He was an old man now, having dedicated 40 years of his life to this moment. The Empire has never shown mercy to any species. They have never negotiated. Their pattern is absolute conquest. "We knew they would come eventually. Do we proceed with protocol silence?" asked Admiral Daeun, the oldest person in the room. "Yes," Hyan said. "Let them see what they expect to see. Let them believe we're primitive and helpless. When they arrive, they'll find a world that appears completely defenseless." Giwu activated her communication device. Across human space, the order went out simultaneously. Every military station, every defense platform, every warship that humanity had built in secret over 3 centuries received the same instruction. Go dark. Go silent. Become invisible. Within minutes, Earth's military presence vanished from all sensors. The civilian world continued as normal. Cities broadcast their television signals. Commercial spacecraft moved between Earth and Mars. Whether satellites orbited peacefully, to any observer, humanity appeared to be a typical pre-spaceflight civilization, just beginning to explore its own solar system. But in the asteroid belt, in the shadows of Jupiter's moons, in the depths of the Kuiper belt beyond Neptune, humanity's true capabilities waited in silence. Ensign Taman, monitoring deep space communications from a hidden station on Earth's moon, detected the Imperial fleet's departure. He calculated their arrival time and reported to his superiors. 6 days, 14 hours, assuming they don't accelerate further. Hion allowed himself a small smile. 300 years of preparation. 6 days until we know if it was enough. Minji, still troubled by the transmission anomaly, ran one final analysis before the fleet entered faster-than-light travel. She detected something that made her pause. The asteroid belt around Earth showed unusual density patterns. Several objects, each roughly the size of small moons, drifted in trajectories that seemed too precise to be natural. She started to report this finding to Commander Daesoon, then stopped. He had already dismissed her concerns once. If she pushed too hard, he might remove her from her station entirely. Better to keep watching, keep analyzing, and hope that her fears proved unfounded. The Eternal Dominion and its accompanying 4,000. Warships entered faster-than-light travel. 6 days to reach Earth. 6 days until the Empire added another conquered species to its long history of victories. In his quarters, Daesoon reviewed the Empire's doctrine on human integration. They would make useful workers, he thought. Their fractured nature meant they would be easy to control. Some species took centuries to fully subjugate. Humans would probably surrender within weeks. He never considered the possibility that he was completely wrong. The 9th Expeditionary Fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. Commander Daesoon expected immediate military response. Every species, no matter how primitive, attempted to defend their homeworld. Even civilizations that knew they couldn't win would send their warships in a desperate final stand. But the sensors showed nothing. No defense fleet. No weapon platforms. No military response of any kind. Sub-Commander Borum, the fleet's tactical officer, ran the scans 3 times to verify the readings. Sir, I'm detecting no military presence. Only civilian traffic between Earth and their inner planets. Daesoon frowned. Define civilian traffic. Small cargo vessels, scientific stations, what appears to be a tourist facility orbiting their moon. Everything matches the profile of a peaceful, pre-contact civilization. No weapons signatures detected anywhere in the system. This didn't match the expected pattern. Species that sent warnings usually prepared defenses. Yet Earth's space appeared completely unguarded, as if the threatening message had never been sent at all. Scan their asteroid belt, Daesoon ordered. Science Officer Mingi detected anomalies there before we departed. Mingi had been waiting for this moment. She directed the fleet's most powerful sensors toward the belt between Mars and Jupiter. What she found made her hands shake as she compiled the report. Sir, I'm detecting multiple large objects in the belt. Approximately 60 structures, each massing between 30 and 50 billion tons. They appear to be asteroids, but their trajectories are mathematically precise. They're not drifting randomly. Daesoon studied the readings. Explain what you mean by precise. Natural asteroids tumble and drift due to gravitational influences from planets and other bodies. These objects maintain stable positions relative to each other, forming a grid pattern. The probability of this occurring naturally is essentially 0. Could they be mining stations? Minji ran spectral analysis on the nearest object. The computer took longer than usual to process the data. When the results appeared, she had to read them twice before she trusted what she was seeing. Sir, beneath the rocky exterior, I'm detecting massive metallic structures. The composition matches no known construction material in Imperial records. Each object appears to be engineered, not natural. Desung felt the first cold touch of doubt. How long would it take a primitive species to construct structures of that size? Based on their apparent technological level, centuries, maybe longer. But sir, they've only had industrial technology for about 300 years total. It's impossible. Possible means we don't understand it yet. Nothing more. Dazun kept his voice firm, refusing to show uncertainty to his crew. Continue toward Earth. Maintain maximum alert status. The fleet advanced through the solar system. They passed the orbit of Jupiter, then Mars. Still no military response? Earth hung before them, blue and green and seemingly helpless. In his private quarters that night, Dasun reviewed everything known about human history. They had nearly destroyed themselves several times through global wars. Their nations competed against each other with almost pathological intensity. Nuclear weapons had brought them to the edge of extinction in their 20th century. Such a divided species couldn't possibly organize a defense that the Empire should fear. The structures in the asteroid belt were probably automated mining facilities, misidentified by Minji's instruments. He was allowing himself to be spooked by shadows. But Ensign Tiemann, monitoring communication frequencies, detected something that contradicted the commander's reasoning. A brief quantum-entangled burst transmitted from Earth's moon, encoded in a format that the Empire had abandoned 6,000 years ago. The technology was so advanced that only the most elite Imperial research facilities still understood it. Tiemann brought the recording to Minji rather than directly to the commander. What does this mean? Minji decrypted the message. It contained a single word in the old Imperial tongue. Ready? Her blood turned cold. Quantum entanglement communication was instant across any distance. The Empire had abandoned it, not because it didn't work, because it was too expensive and complex to maintain across thousands of star systems. Yet humans, supposedly primitive humans, were using it casually. She took the finding to Commander Daesung immediately. He listened to her report, his expression growing darker with each word. You're telling me that these humans possess technology we abandoned because it was too advanced? That's what the evidence suggests, sir. Evidence can be misleading. Perhaps they discovered an old Imperial probe and are recycling our technology. Sir, the encoding protocol in that message is only 600 years old. It was developed long after the Empire stopped using quantum communication. They couldn't have learned it from a probe. Daesun stood and walked to the view screen. Earth filled half the display, peaceful and beautiful. We've conquered 600 species. We've faced every kind of resistance imaginable. We've never retreated, never surrendered, never failed. I will not be the first commander to turn back because of a single suspicious message. Sir, I strongly recommend your recommendation is noted and dismissed. We proceed as planned. The fleet reached Earth's orbit 6 hours later. 4,000 warships surrounded the planet in a pattern designed to prevent any escape. Daesung reviewed the bombardment protocols. The standard approach was to destroy all military infrastructure first, then demand surrender. He gave the order to commence firing. Nothing happened. Tactical. Report, Daesung said calmly. Sub-Commander Borum's hands flew across her controls. Sir, weapons are not responding. All systems show ready status, but firing mechanisms are locked. Override the locks. I'm trying, sir. The override commands aren't working. It's as if the weapons are refusing our inputs. Across the fleet, 4,000 weapons officers reported the same problem. Every ship, every weapon system, is completely locked and unresponsive. Then every view screen in the fleet activated simultaneously, showing the same image. A man in his 60s, wearing a simple uniform, sat at a desk with Earth visible through a window behind him. I am Director Hain of the United Terran Defense Initiative, the man said calmly. We need to talk. Director Hain's face appeared on every screen throughout the Imperial fleet. He spoke with the calm assurance of someone holding all the advantages in a negotiation. Behind him, Earth rotated peacefully, continents and oceans visible through the window of his office. 300 years ago, humanity detected your empire's expansion pattern, Heian said. We studied every species you encountered. We analyzed every battle you fought. We calculated the probability that you would eventually reach our world. That probability was 97%. Commander Daesung tried to close the communication channel. His controls didn't respond. He tried to override the display manually. Nothing worked. The human's image remained on every screen throughout his ship, throughout the entire fleet. We had a choice, Hyun continued. We could hope that your empire would show mercy, despite never showing mercy to any species in your recorded history. Or we could prepare. We chose preparation. On Earth's moon, massive hangar doors began opening across the surface. They had been hidden so perfectly that Imperial sensors had classified them as natural crater formations. Now, as they opened, the truth became visible. Ships emerged from the lunar hangars. Not the small, primitive vessels the Empire expected. These were enormous constructs, each one 3 times the size of the Eternal Dominion. Their hulls seemed to ripple with energy patterns that Imperial science couldn't identify. They moved with impossible grace for vessels of their size, accelerating and maneuvering in ways that violated every known principle of momentum and inertia. Minji watched the readings from her station, her mind refusing to accept what the sensors reported. Those ships are generating gravitational fields independent of their mass. They're manipulating space-time itself for propulsion. Subcommander Borum pulled up the weapons analysis. Sir, each of those vessels shows energy readings equivalent to our entire fleet combined. Dasun finally found his voice. How many ships are emerging? Current count is 107, sir. More hatches are opening. Hyun's voice continued from the speakers. We are not warriors by nature. Most of human history involved fighting each other over resources, territory, and ideology. We nearly destroyed ourselves a dozen times. But we excel at one thing above all others: solving problems we're told are impossible. Captain Yuna commanded the lead human vessel, a ship named Indomitable Hope. She opened a direct channel to the Eternal Dominion. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. Commander Daesung, I am authorized to offer you one final opportunity. Withdraw your fleet now. Return to your empire. Forget you found us. We will not pursue you. We will not seek revenge. Just leave, and this ends peacefully. Daesung stared at the tactical display. 4,000 Imperial warships surrounded Earth. 107 human vessels stood between the fleet and the planet. The math should favor the Empire overwhelmingly, but the sensor readings told a different story. Each human ship generated enough power to vaporize a small moon. Their weapons, whatever they were, remained offline but radiated potential energy that made Imperial dreadnought. Cannons looked like children's toys. Pride and rage fought against survival instinct in Daesung's mind. The Empire had never retreated. Never. To turn back now would mean disgrace. Court-martial? Possibly execution for cowardice. He made his choice. All ships. Open fire. Every weapon, maximum intensity. Destroy them. For exactly 3 seconds, nothing happened. The weapon systems remained locked. Then, suddenly, every gun on every ship activated. Simultaneously, but they didn't fire at the human vessels. 4,000 Imperial warships opened. Fire on each other. The bridge of the Eternal Dominion erupted in chaos. Daesung screamed at his weapons officer, who frantically tried to regain control. Mingi watched in horror as friendly fire tore through the fleet's formations. Ships that had served together for decades suddenly became enemies, their weapons targeting their own allies. Then, just as suddenly, the weapons stopped firing. Not because Imperial crews regained control, because something else took over. Every Imperial ship's propulsion system activated at maximum burn. Not forward, toward Earth. Backward, away from the planet. 4,000 vessels began accelerating out of orbit against their commander's wishes. Engineer Sang-hoon, monitoring the propulsion systems, looked up at Daesung with wide eyes. Sir, we're locked out of everything. Navigation, weapons, life support, communications, everything has been overridden. We're passengers in our own ship. How is this possible? Daesung demanded. Minji understood before Sang-hoon could answer. They've been in our system since we entered the heliosphere. Probably earlier. They let us approach Earth because they wanted us to see. They wanted us to understand exactly how outmatched we are. Captain Yuna's voice returned to the speakers. We're not going to destroy your fleet, Commander Desung. We're going to send you home. Every ship, every crew member, completely unharmed. You'll retain full life support and basic navigation. In 72 hours, we'll return control of your vessels to you. By then, you'll be far enough from our space that we'll feel comfortable letting you decide your own course. The human ships didn't pursue the fleeing Imperial fleet. They maintained formation around Earth, watching as 4,000 warships tumbled and spun away from the planet. Their crews helpless to stop the retreat. In the asteroid belt, the massive structures finally revealed their true purpose. Energy patterns formed between them, creating a web of gravitational lensing that redirected the momentum of every Imperial ship toward a single staging point beyond Neptune's orbit. The structures weren't weapons. They were traffic control, gently but firmly shepherding the invading fleet away from Earth. Daesun sat in his command chair, watching his fleet scatter across the view screen. Some ships collided with each other as their automated systems fought against the human override codes. Others tumbled wildly, their crews struggling to compensate for propulsion systems that refused to respond to commands. Estimated casualties? He asked quietly. Borum checked the reports coming in from across the fleet. Surprisingly low, sir. Mostly injuries from crew members being thrown. During the unexpected maneuvers, no ships lost. The human control systems appear to be actively preventing fatal collisions. They were being defeated by an enemy that refused to kill them. Somehow, that made it worse. Minji finally understood the magnitude of humanity's preparation. They hadn't just built better weapons. They'd built an entirely new form of warfare, one based on control rather than destruction. The Empire had never faced anything like it. And in that moment, she realized something else. The Empire had made a terrible mistake, not in attacking Earth, but in establishing a doctrine that left no room for mercy or negotiation, because now, for the first time in Imperial history, they needed exactly those things. The Imperial fleet tumbled through space, helpless and humiliated. In the command chair of the Eternal Dominion, Daesung sat motionless, staring at the tactical display. His officers moved around him quietly, afraid to speak. The great commander who had conquered 43 species now looked like a broken old man. Sub-Commander Borum made a decision. She walked to the commander's chair and spoke quietly. Sir, with respect, I'm relieving you of command under Imperial Regulation 73. You are mentally unfit to lead. Daesung didn't respond. He didn't even seem to hear her. Borum turned to the bridge crew. Release Science Officer Mingi from the brig immediately. Bring her to the bridge. 10 minutes later, Mingi arrived, still wearing the restraints from her confinement. Daesun had ordered her arrested 6 hours earlier for defeatist predictions and undermining morale. Now Borum personally removed the restraints and guided her to the science station. We need your help, Borum said simply. You understood what we were facing before anyone else did. Minji looked around the bridge. Junior officers argued quietly about whether they should activate the fleets. Others debated attempting to retake control of their ships by force, perhaps by cutting power to all systems and rebooting from scratch. Don't try to regain control, Mingi said loudly, cutting through the arguments. If we fight their override systems, we'll just damage our own ships. They've proven they don't want to hurt us. Let's not give them a reason to change their minds. A young tactical officer spoke up. But we're Imperial fleet. We don't surrender. We've never surrendered. We also don't commit suicide when we're outmatched, Minji replied. Watch the sensor readings. The humans are actively preventing our ships from colliding. They're managing the trajectories of 4,000 vessels simultaneously, keeping us from accidentally destroying each other. That requires computational power beyond anything in our technology base. She pulled up a display showing the energy signatures from the structures in the asteroid belt. Those aren't just traffic control systems. Each one is a computational nexus that makes our most advanced artificial intelligence look primitive. They're probably running millions of calculations per second just to keep us safe while moving us out of their space. Engineer Sang-hoon studied the readings. If they have this much control over our systems, why not just destroy us? It would be easier than managing our trajectories. Because they meant what they said, Minji answered. They don't want to be conquerors. They just want to survive. Borum made her choice. She opened a communication channel to the human fleet. This is Sub-Commander Borum of the 9th Expeditionary Force. Commander Desung has been relieved of duty. I am requesting permission to speak with your leadership. The response came within seconds. Director Hyen's face appeared on the main view screen. Sub-Commander Borum, we've been monitoring your situation. We're sorry for the injuries your crews have suffered. Our control systems are doing their best to minimize harm, but managing 4,000 ships simultaneously is challenging even for us. You're apologizing? Borum couldn't hide her confusion. We came to conquer your world. Yes, you did. But your crews are following orders from an empire that has never shown them an alternative to conquest. We hold no anger toward the soldiers who were sent here. Our quarrel is with a system that believes subjugation is the only form of contact between species. Captain Yuna's ship moved closer to the Eternal Dominion, matching its tumbling trajectory with perfect precision. We're going to stabilize your flagship's rotation. Please don't be alarmed. A beam of soft blue light extended from the Indomitable Hope to the Eternal Dominion. Immediately, the Imperial ship's wild spinning began to slow. Within 2 minutes, the ship was stable, rotating gently on a single axis. How are you doing that? Sang-hoon asked, watching his instruments. We're using a gravitational tractor beam, Yuna replied. Similar to what you use for towing disabled vessels, but more precise. We're going to stabilize your entire fleet over the next few hours. True to their word, the human ships moved through the scattered Imperial fleet, stabilizing each vessel in turn. They worked with methodical efficiency, never rushing, never showing frustration, even when Imperial ships tried to fight the assistance. Minji watched the process with growing understanding. They're not just helping us. They're teaching us. Every action demonstrates capabilities we didn't know were possible. They want us to go home and tell our empire exactly what happened here. Why? Asked Ensign Temin, who had been silent until now. Because the empire only respects strength. If we return claiming humans are primitive, the empire will just send a bigger fleet. But if we return with proof of technology far beyond our own, combined with evidence that humans chose mercy over massacre, it changes the calculation. Director Hyun spoke again from the view screen. Science Officer Minji is correct. We need your empire to understand 2 things. First, we are not defenseless. Second, we are not aggressive. We will defend ourselves absolutely if attacked again, but we will never be the ones to start a war. Borum asked the question that troubled her most. How did you advance so far in just 300 years? The Empire has existed for 12 millennia, and we don't have technology like yours. You want an honest answer? Hyun asked. Please. Your empire conquered its first species 11,000 years ago. From that moment, you stopped needing to innovate. Why develop new technology when you can just take it from the species you conquer? Why invest in research when military might already ensures your survival? Hyun stood and walked to his window, looking out at Earth. Humanity didn't have that luxury. We knew you were coming. We knew we couldn't match 12,000 years of development through normal progress, so we created something new, planet-wide collaboration that made innovation not just a priority, but the sole focus of our entire civilization. The structures in the asteroid belt, Minji said, those weren't just built. They're whole cities, aren't they? Research stations where millions of people live their entire lives. 3 generations of scientists born in space, Hyun confirmed. Never seeing Earth except through telescopes. Dedicating everything to a single question, how do we survive the Empire? Colonel Jiwoo appeared on screen beside Hyun. We didn't want this. We didn't want to become a militarized society, but we chose survival over comfort. Now we're offering your empire the same choice. 6 months after the encounter at Earth, the Grand Council of the Valtheric Empire convened an emergency session. The massive chamber on the capital world held 300 lords, admirals, and governors. All gathered to hear testimony about the failed invasion of Sector 47 Terra. Science Officer Minji. promoted to fleet commander after Desung's complete mental collapse, stood before the assembled leadership. She had spent the journey home preparing this presentation, knowing that the future of the Empire might depend on how well she explained what happened. Lord Admiral Daeyun, eldest member of the council, called the session to order. Commander Mingi, present your report on the 9th Expeditionary Force's encounter with the human civilization. Mingi activated the holographic display. Images of Earth appeared, rotating slowly above the council floor. The humans are unlike any species the Empire has encountered. Their technological advancement didn't follow normal patterns. When they detected our expansion 300 years ago, they made a collective decision to focus their entire civilization on a single goal: ensuring Earth's survival. She showed footage of the asteroid belt structures. These facilities are mobile research cities where millions of scientists lived generation after generation, pushing theoretical physics into practical application. Each structure masses approximately 40 billion tons. There are 63 of them. They were constructed over 3 centuries using resources from their asteroid belt. Counselor Suban, head of the diplomatic corps, interrupted. You're saying a primitive species built facilities that rival our orbital shipyards? Not rival, Counselor. Surpass. Each of these structures has computational and power generation capabilities beyond anything in our technology base. Minji showed recordings of the human ships. Their vessels use gravitational manipulation for propulsion. They can accelerate at speeds that would crush our crews. Yet their inertial dampening is so perfect that their ships experience no internal forces whatsoever. Each capital ship generates energy equivalent to 3 of our fleets combined. She paused, letting that information settle before continuing. But here's what you need to understand. They didn't use that power to destroy us. They could have vaporized the entire 9th Fleet in seconds. Instead, they took control of our systems, moved us out of their space, and sent us home unharmed.
Oh!
The chamber erupted in argument. Some council members called for immediate mobilization of all 10 fleets for a retaliatory strike. Others demanded Mingi be arrested for cowardice. A few sat in silence, processing the implications. Lord Admiral Daeyun called for order. Commander Minji, what is your professional assessment? Could the Empire defeat these humans if we committed our full military strength? Minji had expected this question. She'd prepared for it during 6 months of travel. Based on what we observed, each of their 100 capital ships could engage 3 of our fleets simultaneously. But that's not the real concern. She changed the display to show Earth's defensive grid. They didn't arm themselves to conquer. They armed themselves to ensure that any attack on Earth would be so catastrophically costly that this rational aggressor would risk engagement. Mutual assured destruction taken to an absolute level, and we destroy them before they can respond, suggested Admiral Sung, commander of the 3rd Fleet. Overwhelming first strike. They were inside our systems before we even entered their solar system, Mingi replied. We didn't detect them until they chose to reveal themselves. If we attack again, they'll know we're coming long before we arrive, and next time they might not show mercy. Counselor Suben spoke again. You mentioned they sent us home with a gift? Minji nodded. Technical specifications for quantum entanglement, communication. The same technology the Empire abandoned 6,000 years ago because it was too complex to maintain. They've offered to share it freely, asking nothing in return. She pulled up the final piece of evidence, a formal diplomatic proposal from Earth. The humans are requesting peaceful contact. They want to establish trade relations, cultural exchange, and mutual defense agreements. They're offering technology transfers in areas where they've surpassed us. While asking for information about the galaxy's political landscape, the chamber fell silent. For 12,000 years, the Empire had taken what it wanted by force. Now, for the first time, they faced a species that offered partnership while holding all the advantages. On Earth, Director Haynes sat in his retirement home overlooking the ocean. His successor, Director Jiwoo, visited to update him on the situation. She brought tea and sat across from him on the porch. The Empire has responded to our diplomatic proposal, Jiwoo said. Initial signals suggest they're considering it seriously. High-End smiled slightly. They will accept. We gave them something more valuable than victory. We gave them the face-saving justification to change course without admitting defeat. Do you think they'll honor the agreement? For now, they're survivors, like us. And survivors know when to adapt. Hyun looked up at the evening sky, where stars were beginning to appear. But we keep the defense grid active. Trust is earned slowly, especially with an empire built on conquest. In orbit above Earth, Captain Yuna commanded the indomitable Hope on patrol duty. Her crew had trained for war, but hoped for peace. They maintained constant readiness, knowing that humanity's survival depended on appearing both capable and non-threatening. Ensign Minho received an incoming transmission. Captain, we're receiving a message from Imperial Space. It's on diplomatic frequencies. Yuna felt her heart race. 6 months of waiting, 6 months of uncertainty, all coming down to this moment. Put it through. The message was simple and formal. The Valtheric Empire officially requested diplomatic relations with Earth. They proposed a neutral meeting location to discuss terms of peaceful coexistence. They acknowledged Earth's sovereignty and requested technological exchange agreements. Send our response, Yuna ordered. Humanity accepts. We're ready to talk. She looked out at Earth, peaceful and beautiful in the darkness of space. 300 years of preparation had led to this moment. Humanity had sent a message that was ignored. But the second message, delivered through capability, restraint, and unexpected mercy, had finally been heard. The galaxy was about to change. The Valtheric Empire had built itself on the principle that might makes right. That conquest was the only form of contact between species. Earth had proven a different truth. Real strength lies not in the ability to destroy your enemies, but in the wisdom to turn them into allies. In the months that followed, the first diplomatic vessels arrived at Earth. Imperial scientists came to study alongside human researchers. Cultural exchanges began. Slowly, carefully, to civilizations that should have been enemies, began building something new, and above Earth. The Guardian stations remained on eternal watch, ready to defend if needed, but hoping they would never fire a shot in anger. Humanity had changed the galaxy not through conquest, but through the simple demonstration that another path was possible. The single message Earth sent had been ignored. But Earth's second message, the one written in restraint, capability, and hope, would reshape galactic civilization for millennia to come.